If you've been struggling with IRS tax debt for any length of time, chances are that at some point you've probably had to pick up the phone and call the IRS. It usually starts with receiving a notice in the mail. Maybe it says you're being audited, or maybe it says they're going to garnish your wages or even empty your bank account if you don't take action by a certain date. In this video, I'm going to explain how the IRS's call centers work, known as the Automated Collection System, or ACS. And I'm going to give you some tips for dealing with them and resolving your problem. What to expect when you call the IRS and how to prepare. That's the topic of today's video. On the other side of the break.
1-877 Levy-King, L-E-V-Y Levy-King, 1-877 Levy-King, LEVY-KING.com. Owe back taxes to the IRS? Call the Levy-King, he's the best. 877 Levy-King, LEVY-KING.com. 1-877 Levy-King, LEVY-KING.com.
What's up, guys? Corey Hankerson here from Legacy Tax, and they call me the Levy King because I've helped thousands of clients with unfiled returns, back taxes, tax liens, and that's right, IRS levies. If the IRS took your check, the Levy King will get it back. 1-877 Levy-King, LEVY-KING.com. I'm also the author of End the Tax Nightmare, Insider Secrets to Beat the IRS and Reduce Your Tax Debt. Inside the book, I'll show you how to stop IRS levies, liens, and garnishments without paying the tax in full. How to set up the payment plan that you want and not the one that they want. And how to potentially settle your tax debt for less than you actually owe. My book has been a top seller on Amazon for years. You can buy it right now for $19.99. But I want to give you a copy of the book absolutely free. Just go over to my website. That's www.endthetaxnightmare.com. and enter your name and email, and I'll send you a copy right away. No charge, not even for shipping. Totally free. Now, before we go any further with the video, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and hit that notification bell so you'll get a heads up each and every time we drop a new video. All right, guys, let's dive into today's content. Having to pick up the phone and call the IRS can cause a lot of stress and anxiety, especially when the stakes are high and the outcome of the call can make a big impact on your life. When you do finally work up the nerve to call, you are most likely dealing with a division within the Internal Revenue Service known as the Automated Collection System, or ACS. ACS is a network of IRS call centers staffed by collections employees. You will never see or meet with any of these people face to face. All of their work is conducted by telephone and fax. That's right, fax. They don't do email. The IRS actually still uses old school fax machines. And the vast majority of telephone work conducted by ACS is responding to inbound calls, not making outbound calls. They'll almost never call you directly. There are three pieces of background information that I want you to understand when you're dealing with ACS. The notices that ACS mails out are computer generated. Notices like CP 501, which is a notice of balance due, CP 503, which is a immediate action required, or CP 504, which is a notice of intent to levy, are not sent to you by a human being at all. These notices they have computer networks that automatically mail them out to you, to taxpayers who owe balances. A computer will automatically generate the notices. The IRS has automated printing and mailing machines that will literally produce the letter, print it out, drop it in the envelope, and send it to you without a human being having really no involvement in that entire process at all. The second thing is that no one person, no single person within ACS is assigned to your case. And so therefore, each time you call, you're going to get a different person on the phone. It is very likely that you will also get different outcomes with each person that you speak with. For example, one ACS rep might tell you that you have to pay $100 a month to pay for your tax debt. And a different person might tell you, no, the amount you have to pay is actually $300 a month or $400 a month. These inconsistent outcomes are a source of a lot of confusion, but they're also an opportunity when dealing with ACS, and I'm going to explain that in just a few seconds. The third thing is that the automated collection system, or ACS, cannot seize your home, business, or other property. They can't come and take your car. That is done by other IRS personnel, such as revenue officers, and require a high level of approval, and often even require the assistance of the Department of Justice to get that things done. So those aren't really things you have to worry about. But even though they can't seize property, ACS can levy bank accounts and garnish wages. They usually find your bank account or your wages via information already stored in IRS databases. This means this information comes from your bank or your employer when they report it to the IRS every year in the form of an IRS Form W-2 or 1099. The automated collection system already knows where you bank and where you work. So ACS already has that information on file. And if they eventually do need to come after you for collections, that's most likely where they're going to go, to your wages or your bank account. Now, let's look at some strategies for handling the actual telephone call. All right, let's look at some tips. I got 5 of them for you here today. Tip number 1. Preparation is key. Make sure you have all the information that you might need before making the call. At a minimum, I want you to have the following things ready when you pick up that phone and call ACS. Number 1, have your social security number for individuals or your tax ID number for businesses. You're going to need that. That's almost one of the first things they're going to ask you for. Number 2, you want to have your prior year tax return handy. Number 3 is the tax return that you're actually calling about. If it's not the prior year, you want to have that old tax return as well as the prior year handy. And finally, the IRS letter or notice that prompted your call. You want to have those 4 things with you at a minimum. Finally, if you're calling on behalf of another person or a business, you'll need to have authorization to speak on their behalf. Remember that ACS uses fax machines and not email, so it's normally a good idea to be near a fax machine when you call so that you can fax in your authorization or any documents that they may ask for during the call. Tip number 2, establish rapport. My grandmother used to say that you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. The best advice that you can get when dealing with the IRS automated collection system, if you're a jerk on the call will not go your way. Okay, one of 2 things will happen. Best case scenario, they may hang up on you. That's right. They call it the old courtesy disconnect, right? They're going to hang up on you even after you've been sitting on hold for an hour or 2 to get somebody on the line. If you're a jerk on the call, they really might just hang up on you. No matter how you feel about having to pay taxes or how much you dislike the IRS, just remember that the person on the other end of the phone is not to blame. They're just a person doing their job. It's not personal for them and they don't have it in for you. So don't make it a personal situation. Tip number 3, cut your losses and start over. I usually begin all of my calls with a very warm good morning or good afternoon, and I actually thank them for accepting my call. I know this may seem like a small thing, but I use this intro, these first few seconds of the call, to check the temperature of the ACS rep that I'm talking to. I can often tell during the first minute of the phone call with the ACS representative exactly how things are gonna go. If they're rude or if they're short with me during that first minute or so, oftentimes I'll end the call and get in line all over again and get another ACS representative to help me. I know this might sound difficult to do given that you've probably been sitting on hold for 30 minutes, an hour, or even more while you're waiting for someone to take your call. But there is 0 point to spending an entire phone call, which the call itself could take an hour, right? So there's no point in spending an hour arguing with someone who's having a bad day. It's only going to frustrate both of you, and it'll probably not lead to the result that you're after. Tip number 4 is know your objective before you call. Before you call ACS, you're going to need to understand exactly what you're looking to accomplish. What is the desired outcome of this conversation? You're not just calling to chit chat, you're calling to get something done, right? Do you want an extension of time to file your past due taxes? Are you asking for a wage levy to be released? Maybe you want to set up a payment plan. You see, there are published rules regarding every possible action that an IRS employee can take. Before making the call, you'll need to know whether the IRS will require you to provide financial information on your income or your assets. If so, will they accept this information from you verbally, or are they going to require you to fax in the documentation like bank statements and pay stubs? As mentioned before, you want to have access to a fax machine at the time that you call so that you can fax in your documents. The ACS rep will expect you to fax in pay stubs or bank statements, for example, if they ask for those, or if they ask for your tax return from a particular year. They're going to want you to fax that in while you remain on the line with them. So it's always a good practice to be at or near or have access to a fax machine. Email won't cut it. It's got to be a fax. Tip number 5, and maybe one of the most important, is to document everything. When you begin the call, the rep is going to give you their name and employee ID number. Write it down. You want to have that if you need to do any follow-up. When you've accomplished the objective that you established before making the call, repeat the resolution back to the rep on the phone. For example, you're going to say, so we're agreeing to a payment plan of $100 a month beginning on the 15th of August for the next 60 months, right? And you want them to verbally agree that what you have stated is correct. So that way you two have the same understanding of what's to happen from here going forward. You're going to ask the IRS rep to clearly document that agreement in their system notes. This is important because if you have to call back for any reason, you want to make sure that there is a clear record of the previous call. Sometimes I even call back and speak with another IRS rep after I have established a resolution, just to make sure that the previous representative actually put my client's resolution on the books. It might seem crazy, it might seem like overkill, but you'd be surprised how many times I have to start all over with the second rep because the first rep didn't enter anything or everything correctly in the IRS system. So it's as if that call never happened. If they don't take notes properly and enter it in very clearly and unambiguously, it really is like the whole call never happened and you got to start all over. So you want to know that in advance. In summary, most IRS problems are handled at the ACS level. You're going to be going through the automated collection system when you're trying to resolve these problems. So learning how to negotiate the ACS system is essential to dealing with IRS tax debt. Now, speaking of tax debt, I want you to know that there are special programs in place to help you get a fresh start. But how do you know if you qualify? You see, no two cases are exactly alike. So how do you know exactly how much you can settle for? Well, lucky for you that I've set up a free tool to help you get qualified for that fresh start. Just head over to www.LEVY-KING.com or click the link below. Follow the prompts and answer a few simple questions, and we'll help you figure out what your eligibility is. Again, the website, www.LEVY-KING.com, or you can give us a call at 1-877-LEVY-KING. That's it for this week, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
1-877-LEVY-KING, L-E-V-Y, Levy-King, 1-877-LEVY-KING, LEVY-KING.com. Owe back taxes to the IRS? Call the Levy King, he's the best. 877-LEVY-KING, LEVY-KING.com. 1-877-LEVY-KING, LEVY-KING.com.